My lighting kit has always been really limited compared to the cameras and the audio equipment that I've been using on my projects. Something that I'm changing in this video. This has been because the projects that I often find myself working on demand me to be fast, travel light or have a really small footprint on location. So often I have to be really creative with what I have and what I can bring. Let me give you an example. Last year I followed the guys from the ambulance for 3 days in a row, capturing their day-to-day, their assignments, and obviously when the phone rings we both have to get up and go. For this project I also had to capture some interviews, and this is where the challenge lies. I can't make a big nice lighting setup because when these guys have to go, they have to go and I have to go with them. I guess that it's obvious that this is a very low footprint operation. You can't fit multiple people in the ambulance, and as well in their station they would get annoyed with a big crew. So the setup for the interviews mostly had to rely on natural lighting, because I can't set up multiple lights and then quickly move them aside before we have to go. No, if the phone rings you just run. And so there will be no one to move those lights out of the way. That's what I mean with I have to be creative with what I've got and what I can bring. And so it is often natural lighting, but because it's better to have something in your backpack to kind of give an extra kick of lighting than nothing, I do always bring some things. So let me show you what I've been using and then let's unbox some new toys. Let's get you off the tripod. Okay, so this is what the setup for this shot looked like. The tripod right here. Then I've got a big... This is one of those 5-in-1 deflectors. The silver thingy is right there. You've got a silver side, gold side, black side, white side, and then you've got this diffuser. So I've put this diffuser on this monopod. And then I've got my small rig 60-watt cob light basically shining against this thing to give the soft light. And then a little trick I use is basically outdoor lighting is about 5400 Kelvin and I've put this light to 32 Kelvin. And I've matched my camera's white balance to this light, meaning that this seems pretty natural and the outside lighting has this cold kind of look, making a nice contrast in your scene. Okay, so let's see what I got. Ordered some pins to go with my master clamps, some sandbags that I will need to fill, and they forgot my fucking softbox. And then the star of the show, Nanlite FC-500B. That was disappointing. Look at that. That's gonna be nice. Some manuals. That nice long sturdy cable. Always nice to see. And I love with Nanlite products, they give you this super long power cable. I believe this one is like 5 meters, so there will be plenty to use on set. Obviously the power unit itself. One unfortunate thing with this kit is that they don't give you the clamp to attach this thing to the tripod, so you will have to hang it on there or buy the clamp yourself. Then for the light itself, what a beast. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I think it looks awesome, super bright, super nice, but let's go test it out. I filled up the sandbags, the other ones right there, and I used one of my old C-stands for this. So I'm gonna quickly break this thing down and take it with me on a little documentary interview.
Bepaalde dingen meegepikt heb van Arcelor, dat ik al kan gebruiken voor mijn
So that went pretty well, I'd say, especially considering half my order is still missing. Thanks DHL. So let me tell you about what I've been using for the past 2 years and then we'll unbox the final pieces. So this is a SmallRig RC60B cob light. It's a 60 watt small bicolor light that has a pretty decent range going from 2700 to 6500 Kelvin. It also has a built-in battery that can be super handy in a pinch. I've used this light a lot over the past 2 years and because of its battery and the small size it was pretty much always in my backpack. Often together with some magic arms so that I could clamp it pretty much everywhere. I also love that this thing has a normal 1/4 inch thread, which means I can use pretty much any tripod whenever I want. I don't have to bring around a big heavy C-stand, though the adapter is included in the set when you buy it. That just makes life with this thing much easier. It's also nice that it charges through USB-C, something that content creators love to rave about, but let's be honest, our bags and our Pelican cases, they are more than heavy enough, so cutting another charger is pretty nice. This is a small 60 watt light, so you can't really use any modifiers, it's not powerful enough for that, so you won't be creating any cinematic masterpieces. So bringing this with me was pretty much an assurance that I could get at least a usable shot. And that doesn't always mean a really pretty shot, but just something that I could actually use in the edit. And so now that some new tools are entering my collection, the role of this light is changing slightly. But obviously when going on expeditions, cycling, going far or packing light, the role of this light is not changing. It's got battery, it's bright enough for those situations, and it's really small, which is the most important in that case. But I'm gonna try to push even more in the future to have a little bit more time, a little bit more space and set up a little bit more lights to just get that extra sauce, because it's well worth it in the end. And so entering the collection is a new FC-500B. But even when working with these lights, with some modifiers, this one is not staying home. I can always use this one as a hair light or just as an extra kick from behind, you know, just to add a little bit more. So let me tell you how I set up the interview, knowing that pretty much half my order didn't arrive. So like I said, the softbox, lantern, C-stand all didn't arrive in time, so I had to work with what I had on hand. So the setup went like this. This space had some huge garages and it was a heavily clouded day, which actually really saved the shoot. Because that provided a lot of nice soft light coming in, lighting the space, lighting the subject. So I actually had to do very little, just give that extra kick of lighting. I put this thing a little bit higher than my subject on like 2% brightness, shining directly on him. Because with a light of this size, without any modifiers, you have to be really careful. You can easily have too much contrast or just completely blow out your subject. I also put down my 5-in-1 deflector with the black side facing the subject. This just prevented a little bit of light from bouncing from the floor onto the subject and giving a weird hue. And then, like I said, I'm not leaving my SmallRig cob light behind. I put this one on a separate stand slightly behind my subject on a warm color temperature. This just gave a little bit of rim light on the side of his head and lit up the fire trucks behind him to give a little bit more contrast in the scene, just a little bit more life. Because the outside lighting was pretty cold, it was a cloudy day and I color matched this light to that light. So there was a lot of very cold light flooding the scene. So a little bit of warmth just made everything pop. Anyways, that's that. Let's check out what else I ordered. Okay, so everything arrived, so time to unbox. So these right here are the two modifiers that I ordered. I also ordered a tripod with them, but I'm not gonna wait much longer. I'm running off this video right here. Crazy how much a couple of lights can change the space, right? And that's also one of the reasons why I invested in some lighting equipment. This way I can just practice and play with them whenever I want. So obviously this is more of a YouTube style setup with bike in the background and softbox close by. I wouldn't do it this way for a documentary shoot, but please let me know if this is a frame you like for some talking head videos, or maybe I should just stick with vlogging and natural lighting. Anyways, as I've said in the beginning of this video, I don't really use a lot of lighting equipment, and I mean, this is still not a big setup. One big light, a softbox, a lantern and a C-stand is not a crazy setup. But to me it does open some new doors for nice lighting setups to play around with, to practice and just to up the quality across the board. I not only am working on projects that do have the space and the time to set up a nice setup, but as well some other things. For example, I've been doing some podcasts lately and these require some nice lighting as well. So I've ordered a big C-stand with a boom arm to place the light nice and above the people talking in the podcast with the lantern attachment, though the C-stand is still on its way and I got sick of waiting, so I'm doing this video like this. So, first impressions of the Nanlite FC-500B. I think this is a brilliant light for the money. It's lightweight, it doesn't cost a lot, it's pretty bright, the color range is nice. I only see positives at this point. I will be testing this thing out long term. Maybe I will drop a review down the road after using it for a couple of months. So if you're interested in that, be sure to drop a comment down below. And if you're interested in firefighter documentary, be sure to stick around. This thing is gonna go on for more than a year and there's some pretty epic shoots coming up. But as well, if you're interested in gear, adventure or my career as a filmmaker, be sure to join this epic community, and that being said, I'll see you all next week. Peace.